couple times a week, I get an email about using systematic trading to remove emotions from trading. So today I'm going to talk about how, although it doesn't remove emotions, it changes the emotions that we're worried about, how I think it can help and where I don't think it can help. And so, if you're interested in systematic trading at all, just stay tuned to this and you'll have some good idea of what it is that we're trying to do. So when we say systematic trading, we are talking about what we do over at setsatrading.com, where we're not looking through a billion charts every single day to try to find what's moving. I do some high-level research, more about the industries and sectors and all of that. But when it comes to actually placing trades, we are placing trades based off of setups we have and backtests. And you can go to stats@trading.com. You can read every single month of every single setup that I have there. I have listed in a PDF right on the website. And if you want the output to these systems, again, make sure you're going to stats@trading.com. You're signing up there. But so our process is, once a day, there's the day trading emails sent out. And when and if those things hit certain trigger points, we get alerted. Until then, we do nothing. Between then, we really do nothing. When it comes to swing trading, it's the same thing, but just every week. So every week, at the end of the week, sometime on the weekend, StatsEdge Pro members are emailed, here's everything we're looking at for next week, the price levels we're looking at, and our Discord bot will actually tell us when those things are triggered. And then between then, we do nothing. So you can probably already see the first thing that a lot of people would have problems with from an emotional standpoint. Patience is helped by systematic trading, but not completely dealt with. If you are an impatient person, you will probably be finding excuses to take trades when there are none. Today is a perfect example where, from the day trading point of view, we're actually a little bit lighter than normal. I've only taken like 3 or 4 trades. Sometimes there can be as much as 10 at this point. So if you are someone who is just, you constantly feel the need to trade all the time, where systematic trading helps is it will just tell you, hey, based off of your system, there are no alerts, so there's no trades. And if you have the wherewithal and the patience to just listen to that, you'll do just fine. Where I think a lot of people get struggled with when it comes to lack of patience is because they don't have a solid setup that says, when this happens, do this, when this happens, do this. They are looking all the time. And eventually, if you look hard enough, you will find things that you shouldn't really probably be trading, but you end up trading them anyway, just because you've been looking for like 2 hours. So we're not looking at all. Now, where does emotions really hit inside of systematic trading? Well, we actually have a perfect example from this year I wanted to go over. So for our swing trading system, for example, this is a weekly kind of bar chart of some of the profits that we had, profits and losses. And you can see for this year, January, February was great. We did fantastic in January and February. But then here in, end of March and then all through April, we were struggling. And it doesn't take a rocket science to try to figure out why, right? If you go to the market and you look at what happened in April, if you were sleeping under a rock, right? April and then a little bit of May, we were kind of in this area. So our systems had drawn down. All systems draw down. It's not something that we should be too worried about. But what I wanted to show you, and this is how I know this emotionally affects people, is this is the Substack graph. So currently everything is being run through Substack. So if you go to stats@trading.com, you want to sign up there, you get a free email once a day with this video and bonus content. And if you sign up for the paid side of things, that's where you get access to all of the systems. And during that period of time, there was a pretty, not a huge, but a drop there in subscribers. And then they didn't come back until the market hit all-time highs. So I can just tell by just looking at my stats that when we are looking here and we are seeing a drawdown in the market, there are a lot of people that are abandoning the strategies just because there is a drawdown in the market and then a simple drawdown in the overall, in what it is that we're doing. So that part of the market is still there. So that's the main thing I think people need to actually look at and focus on, is that if you are someone who every time you get a little bit of a downtick, you jump to a different strategy, systematic trading can help you there if you really go through and you study the data. Because if you look at the drawdown that we had in April, it was typical for bear markets. It wasn't outside of the norm. It wasn't anything to be super worried about. Certainly wasn't fun, right? But it's not something that we want to go too crazy about at all. So what we end up doing when we kind of have these problems as humans is we leave a strategy often at the worst possible time. And when that strategies and its worst drawdown, and then we go to something else. Maybe I know some people who went to shorting the market when the market was hitting those new lows, and those people are kind of getting completely blown out now. As I'm watching, we're hitting new all-time highs again. So the two things that do not help in systematic trading is, leaving a strategy or just the pain of a drawdown. That will always be there. There will always be drawdowns. There will always be pain of the drawdowns, and impatience when it comes to trading. Now, where it helps in a lot of these cases is that if you have faith in your system and you've done the research and you've read through the data and you know how it will be to feel, then when you enter these periods, it becomes much easier to stick with this than I think a discretionary trading setup. If I had a discretionary trading setup where I bought a stock every time it came back to the 9 EMA, when that starts failing, you don't have anything to go back to say, yes, it's failing, but it should be failing right now. The example of the equity chart I gave, I knew these are long-only swing trading strategies. That was an awful market to be a long-only swing trader. So it's going to happen. That gives me the confidence to do that. But if you have not run those numbers yourself, that becomes problematic. So kind of to summarize this rant here is that it's not the trading style, I think, that removes emotion. It is the ability to go back and look at the overall back test and say, okay, I am able to remove emotions because I know that what's happening currently to my strategy, this series of losses that I'm taking, is totally normal and typical, and it will resolve at some point, hopefully, to the upside. So if you are struggling with trading, I don't think it's emotional control that's your problem. I think what it is the inability to quantify this back test and say, I'm more confident in waiting for my setup when I know what the stats are and I know how many setups I'll get that day or that week or that month. And then also, I think it's important to note that you are probably struggling when it comes to changing strategies on a drawdown because you don't have that data. So either come on over to StatSide Trading, look at all the data we have there, get familiar with it, and sign up. If you're trading yourself, you have to record this, because let's say you went back and you had been trading since 2022. Well, you would have had one bear market under your belt, and you could have gone back and reviewed the data there, and that may have given you the confidence to continue to do the right thing, even though you're in a drawdown. So it's one of those, the whole thing, recording your trades, the best time to do it was yesterday, and then the second best time is to do it today. So make sure you're starting to record this data. When I say journal, I don't mean talking about your feelings. I mean recording every trade, the setup that trade came from, entry, exit price, all of that. It is not systematic trading that removes emotion. It is back tests, it is data that removes emotion. So whether you get that through systematic trading or discretionary trading is up to you. But as soon as you get that data, I promise you, your emotional state should get a lot better.